As we've rolled back this content to its original version before we made any edits today during the video, we can go through this tab as if it was you looking at it for the first time and then instruct you what best to do. We're going to try and get the in the editor scores up to the 60s and 70s and then highlight some of the features that I didn't highlight at the start. So as we highlighted at the start, it's recommended based on the top 10 that we include these two words. The first thing we can do is click on them and just see how they use them. So this is trout fishing and fly fishing. Quick guide to fly fishing Yellowstone, fly fishing Yellowstone National Park. So it's a pretty normal use of it. There's no atypical uses. They're just specifying the type of fishing they're doing in this park. So what we're going to go ahead and do is add a fly word to the start of the title. So we're going to change it to fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park. We're going to see how rivers used and see whether we could add that to our title as well, and then try and rank for the maximum amount of keywords and help the ranking with a good meta title. So we'll look at how it's used. Trout rank, Yellowstone River, fishing Yellowstone River. So we can add river and it will seem perfectly natural to have a title, fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park River. So as we said previously, we're going to want to see how much that increases our score. Remember, we want to get as close to 100 as possible for in the editor. Click refresh. And we've gone up to 42. So we'll repeat the same process for the meta description. Let's see how they use fly. For fly or lure fishing, they're just specifying the type of fishing again. So we'll see if we can incorporate that into our meta description. So we found the perfect place, which would be here. A guide to fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park. And we don't need really two instances of the Yellowstone and the fishing, so we kind of tighten this up and then just add river. A guide to fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park River. We can then update it again. And we can see the score's gone up to 45. Once again, we're now going to check the H1, so the title tags aren't, lots of the time people just have it automated, so the meta titles will be generated based on the title of the page. But it is recommended that you differ them. Your H1 is kind of the most important tag on your page, and your meta title is also used for ranking, so it kind of makes sense because we are limited by amount of characters to have a longer H1 title than we do our meta title. So what we're going to do is see how fly and river are used, once again by looking at the competitive analysis, see how we can incorporate this into the H1 and maybe beef up the H1 title a little bit. So a quick guide to fly fishing Yellowstone Park. See, this is the best tag. Do it yourself, guide to the best fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park. See how they use river in it. So this is not a typical use of H1 tags. They've used 21 tags for H1. Normally you see just one. So these are a lot more typical and these are atypical. We'd of course recommend only using H1. It's meant to be the one heading for the page, and anything off that should be H2, H3, H4, H5. So let's see what we can come up with. So what we're going to do is go ahead and edit this. What do you think? Maybe the ultimate guide to fly fishing in Yellowstone National Park River. More descriptive, slightly longer than the title because we have more space, but it's captivating enough. So if we refresh that, we can see these all green. The next thing we're going to do is look into the keywords in the body text section. As we said previously, in this section you can see the keywords you've used, its density, the top 10 density, and we can click on this to highlight it in our text. And if we want to see how it's used in the top 10, we click this section here and see how they use it in text. So we can see and really compare whether our use is as natural as theirs or whether they're not optimizing enough. But it's a good bench line to see how they're using it. We also have different categorizations of the type of words. We have exact match, which is it exactly match. So the top 10 competitors have 1 to 2 instances of this exact text, whereas we have 5. Word form is the same meaning of the word and essentially the same word, but maybe in a different tense. So we could have an example for fishing. We could have fishes or fished. All that's changing is the tense. And then we can also have word form phrase. I don't know if it actually pops up in this. No, it doesn't. But if you do see word form phrase, this is referring to essentially a phrase with the same words but structured slightly differently. An example would be fishing license for Yellowstone or Yellowstone fishing license. I'm just going to follow this recommendation now. You'll normally see as a whole, if you've got too many exact match words, we'd recommend using it in a word form. So we're going to go ahead and just take a few of these recommendations. So we'll do this one in this text, 5, 1 to 2. We could change it to Yellowstone fly fishing. Refresh that. See it's going down. Let's highlight that again to see where they are. Refresh that again. So that's showing. So we've removed that criteria. Now it's gone to fish Yellowstone as the next one. So this is word form. It reckons the top 10 don't really have the. We don't necessarily need to follow this one. Yellowstone, we have a heavy overusage if we're comparing it to them. So we have a keyword density of 2.03%, whereas they'd only have a keyword density of 1.1 to 1.53. So well, just try and replace this or just remove it. So let's copy the instances. Let's show them. That's a useful place. We could change it to this. Yellowstone Lake is the largest body of water. We can change it once again to this. With its prime fishing conditions and beautiful scenery, Yellowstone Lakes, so we leave it there. We could change Yellowstone to the. There is no better time to start planning your unique fishing adventure. So we could just remove that in its entirety. Just refresh it. So it says 30. Refresh. 26. We only need to remove 3 more instances to be within that guideline. Let's find a few more. It is a really old theory that the more you use the word, the more relevant Google will see your content as for that word. It used to be a thing. That's where keyword stuffing came from. But now really you should only be using the word when you really need to. You shouldn't be consciously injecting that word into your content. So highlight it again. So in this instance, we don't need to state the lake again because we specified it here, Yellowstone Lake, the lake, with its prime condition, the lake, or this lake. We don't need to just constantly specify Yellowstone. It's within the paragraph of talking about Yellowstone Lake. And we could remove at the general stores. Once again, we know it's at Yellowstone General Stores because we're talking about Yellowstone. Bring in your own gear. You could just remove that again. And let's see what it says. Straight away up to 50. It obviously sounds reasonable. If we follow the rest of these, our score would go right up to the top. But yeah, that's really a more in-depth guide to how to use our recommendations feature. In summary, the real purpose of this section is to make your content not similar, but as competitive and including the correct words that are needed to rank for the keywords that you're trying to rank for based on the top 10 that are currently doing really well for the keywords you wish to rank for. What I hadn't covered before, which I should probably just, when you see here, when we were referring to word forms, you can actually see the drop down here, which shows the examples of phishing and the different types of words they could use, but that would correspond to being a word form similar keyword. So really the crux of this is use this to see whether your content is maybe missing paragraphs that include useful information on this topic, or it just isn't as well optimized as it could be based on your competitors, or whether you have actually over optimized and overused the keywords that you're trying to rank for. It's just kind of an easy way very quickly to gain insight into what your competitors are doing without having to individually visit each of the 10 sites for all of the keywords. It's basically here to save you time and help you rank quickly. What we're going to do now is take a look at the latent semantics indexing options and just see what we can do with this tab. So we said before, it just kind of shows words and topics that are used in the top 10 competitors. We're just going to see how well this translates into actually improving your content. So the first thing we're going to see is we're going to check out the competitors for your keywords. You can see the competitors for can you fish in Yellowstone. We can see the top results. So there's only 9 here, but that will be because there is most likely a featured snippet or something that's then restricting the organic listing amounts. We can see here how long the articles are meant to be. So this gives us a good guideline of what we need. As you can see, there's an absolute monster here of 7,200 words. But to really rank in the top 3, we can see we actually only require around 1,500 to 3,000 words to accurately answer the question. We notice here that it's slightly different at the top, but that's just because there's one website that holds 2 spots. I'm assuming that would be a position 0 and position 1 or 2. But you can see once again the length of content really that's required, and if there are any outliers that maybe websites that don't work, they'd be easy prey for you to go after. But as a whole, this is just working out how long your content needs to be to rank for these individual words. As a whole, we could probably accurately go, it needs to be 1,500 to 3,000 words long. So, up here, we've got all of the keywords that you use, which when you click on, you can see in your text, and words you don't use. So you can see on here, using this, really it pertains to talking to the season when the fishing starts at this national park. So if you haven't included a paragraph here, this would probably be a great paragraph to add and talk about when you can start getting in there. Here you can see more generic terms, so of course it's picking out all the words that are in common that are shown on competitors' sites. But things like here you could be talking about the different creeks available in Yellowstone National Park for fishing. You could be looking at how to work there, what works. Yeah, it's basically a really good way for you as well to find content ideas. I mean, content is hard to create as a whole. You can come up with an idea, but I mean, you could just start a fresh page within our content optimizer and just look at what competitors are ranking for. So all you have to do is enter a keyword group, specify a page, and you can kind of create all of your content from here. We can see on the side the topics they use. When we go back to the recommendations tab, we can use keywords that see the keywords that they're constantly using. Like, you essentially can just go, I want to rank for these keywords. I'm going to add it as a keyword group. I'm then going to open up the content optimizer, and you're pretty much going to get a content plan just ready-made for you. So yeah, that's what the Latent Semantic recommendation panel is really useful for. It's a content ideas, and if you're just looking to sprinkle some useful LSI keywords in, this is the place to go. The last section we're going to cover is really, now we've shown how to edit it in the editor and then increase our score. But now if we still refresh it on the website, it will show the same score. In order to get it onto your website, you need to just open up your content management system and then copy here, which you can see text being copied to the clipboard, and paste it into your CMS. It really is as simple as that. Yeah, that's everything really for today. We hope you found this guide useful. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to either ask us, drop us an email, or submit a support ticket. Have a lovely day.